Hey everybody, hey, it's Tuesday transformation time, and I wanted to share just a quick thought that I had with you. The talk over the summer here in Iowa has been the big baseball game that was played up in Dyersville at the Field of Dreams Stadium. That was the popular movie back in 1989. I was I sophomore in high school, maybe somewhere around there. And I remember the movie, saw it when it came out, and remembered how powerful it was. But I needed to go back and rewatch it because a few years had passed and at a different stage in life. And so I went back and watched the movie. I didn't get a chance to go to the game, but I saw the pictures everywhere and just remembered the significance of the whole movie plot line. And I might have a few spoiler alerts, so if you haven't seen the movie in the last 30 years, you might want to pause this video and go watch it before you listen to my takeaways. But as a peak performance coach, I get a chance to work with people a lot on the building of their field of dreams, the helping them to really listening into the calling in their life of what it is they want to be, do, and have, and then helping them to clarify that into a specific dream or vision or mission and purpose of what they want to accomplish, and then taking the steps to make that a reality. And when I watched the movie last night, there was a few takeaways that I didn't necessarily capture 30 some years ago when I was first watching it. And I thought I'd share them with you, maybe because it would help you in your own journey and helping you to build your own field of dreams. And so a couple of things that I saw was, when Kevin Costner, the star of the movie, was initially called to build it, is that he was out there working in his field. He was literally in his field, walking or driving through the cornfields, and that's when he heard a calling. And I think that oftentimes we're doing something, we're working at something, we're involved in something that's not really our calling. There's something else bigger, there's something else more significant that's out there, and we just haven't had a chance to really hear it because our lives are so busy with kids, with all of the distractions, the electronic leash of the phone, all the movies and stuff that we can do, and all the appointments we put in our calendars. Is that I think that we're oftentimes so busy living an ordinary life that we don't get a chance to hear the calling. And the calling could be something from God. It could be something that maybe a family member or a loved one has called you to be or to do or to have. And maybe kind of like a wake up call, you've put that pillow over your ears and you've kind of drowned out that ringing or that noise. Maybe it's become inaudible. You can't hear the calling, or you can't understand the calling because you've got so much noise in your life that you haven't necessarily tuned in. But I think that each and every one of us has a calling. It's just a small percentage of people truly live their calling. But in this particular movie line, Kevin Costner, the star, hears it, but he doesn't understand it. And I think that that's a very comparable thing to what most people deal with when they're called to do something or be something or have something that's significant to them. They don't fully understand the calling. There's a thought, there's an idea, there's some mission, there's a problem that they want to solve, there's a dream that they want to accomplish, and it's put into their head, but they're not really sure what it even means and why they can't sleep at night and why they get up in the morning and they think about it, but they're not really sure of how to make it happen, or are they even capable of doing it, and they start thinking about all the risks. And so many times they drown out that wake-up call. But in the storyline, he doesn't. He continues to tune in. He's actually listening for the calling because he's heard it before and he wants to understand it. So he goes out and he seeks it. He goes outside and listens and is awake and looking for that next opportunity to hear the voice. And the voice says, build it and he will come. And while he doesn't understand that, he goes in pursuit looking for the meaning of it. And while he's looking for the meaning of it, he begins to see the vision. And I think that all of us, if we have a calling in our life, something that's important to us, if we would spend some time engaging in our dreams, engaging in the things that the calling may be representative to, whether it's to launch into that career that you always wanted, or whether it's to pursue the relationships, or to go on that travel adventure that you've always wanted to, whatever it is that you're feeling called to do, we have to spend time envisioning the dream of what that calling could actually be translated into. Otherwise, we don't translate the calling into an actual vision or dream that can be accomplished. And this is where Kevin Costner actually listens to this process, and then he sees this baseball field with lights and the whole bit, and he catches the vision of what he's supposed to do. And then he takes that vision and he even talks to his wife about it. And, while his wife didn't hear the calling, which is oftentimes the case, he even talked to some other farmers and said, you ever hear voices in the field? And they all kind of looked at him weird, because most people aren't listening to their calling. Most people are tuned out. They're so busy on ordinary living that they don't tune into what it means to be called to an extraordinary life. So when he starts talking to them, they have no idea what he's talking about. Even his own wife is saying, I didn't hear this. But she also loves him and says, you know what, if this is important to you, then you should pursue it. Which is oftentimes common to us working with our spouses, is that maybe a spouse doesn't necessarily see the dream or the calling in the same way you do. But because maybe we're committed to each other, we start to believe that if this is important to you, we can pursue it. And sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes the spouse does not see it and thinks it's a huge risk, and it creates controversy in a person's life. And talking through that and working through those compromises is a part of building your field of dreams. The next part of the storyline is where he starts to seek out the people that are going to help him to understand what this calling and what this vision means. It means that he built the field, he created it, he heard the calling, followed his calling, built the field, but still didn't know the purpose around why he was supposed to do this. And so he went out and started seeking out other people to help him to understand it, which is oftentimes where we get benefits from seeking out a peer group, or talking to a coach, or talking to an advisor, mentor, somebody that's been there, done that, or seen something. And this particular mentor, James Earl Jones, plays the character of a writer who has kind of gotten to become more of a recluse, where he's just no longer in the active profile where he had been when he was younger. And he seeks out his mentorship and his advice, and that person ends up giving him some instructions and helps him to make sense of his vision, of his dream, and of his calling. And, he hears this repeatedly, even though he fully doesn't understand how it all comes together. He even goes ways and takes steps and fails his way forward. And he also has to kind of press through some challenges. When he first connected with James Earl Jones, he didn't necessarily get a warm reception. This guy didn't want him in his life. And that's very common for people that are building their field of dreams, is they have to go through the opposition or the rejection or the failure before they actually learn that you have to fight for building your dreams. It's not going to come easy. And therefore it shows in this video or this movie the exact same thing. He also goes into a situation where he starts to thinking more about the costs, right? So the farm, that's the big problem is that there's a payment due on the farm, and because he mowed down his corn, he doesn't have the extra money to pay for their expenses and to pay for the house. And so he's kind of losing the opportunity to keep the field. And there are risks associated with following your calling and following your dreams. If you really want to build your dreams, you have to be willing to take some calculated risks. You don't want to bet the farm on something that's not been well thought through, but when comes a time when you're going to go pursue something and take a risk, you're going to have to invest. You're going to have to take a risk and invest something in faith that there's a reason why you're doing that. And that may lead to some failure. That may lead to some things that are negative in your life, but that may be all part of the process of fulfilling your calling, is that you may have to go through those difficult times to see it through. And then the final part about it is that, he comes to a point in time where he doesn't want to live an ordinary life. He truly wants to live an extraordinary life, and he's willing to stand up for what is right, even when family members and friends and other people don't believe, they don't see it. There's a time when he's out there, in the baseball field, and the people that have come onto the field from the cornfields are actually out there playing, and he and everybody in his family sees it, but his brother-in-law, mother-in-law, some other people, they don't see it because they don't believe in the dream. They don't see the vision. They don't hear the calling. And there's a lot of places in life where you're just going to have friends and family members that are not going to fully understand what your calling is all about and what your dream is about, but you got to be fully convinced to stick with it. So if you have a field out there that you're dreaming about, whether it's a baseball field or whether it's a career or a business or a health transformation or relationship issue, keep listening. to your calling. Keep believing in the dream and clarify the dream. See the vision, talk to other people, work through it until it becomes crystal clear, and then go to work on building the field. Get out there in your tractor, do the work, make the investment, and if you build it, I truly believe they will come. And it's a process that's fun for all of us if you're up for the adventure. And if you've maybe done that, if you've already built your field of dreams, I'd love to see it in the comments, and I'd love to encourage other people with your risk that you took to overcome your fears and your challenges to build your field of dreams. Hope that this has been encouraging to you guys. Thanks so much.